Hi everyone, welcome back to this channel. Today we're going to cover another accent, and that will be the Cockney accent or the London accent. Alright, so you want to understand or talk like this, right? Not too hard, a few things you need to know, just a few rules, a few vowels you need to know, a few consonants, stuff like that. Not too hard. So that was an example of a London accent, how it generally sounds. So it's generally spoken in London or areas around London by working class people. Not to insult anyone, but normally the less educated you are, the more you stay in one area. Say if you stay in like a rural area of London all your life, you'll generally talk like this because you don't experience other accents, you repeat what other people are saying around you. So if you go to university, you'd go to another city, you'd hear different accents, so you'd have a more varied accent. So generally people who are builders, who are plumbers, taxi drivers in London will have this accent. A few famous people who have this accent, probably the most famous everyone knows is Michael Caine, who is an actor who was famous for having a Cockney accent, because most actors, say if you go to acting school or theatre, you talk like, hello there, what are you doing, like, you talk with a kind of posh or well-spoken accent. So Michael Caine was kind of famous because he kept his Cockney accent while acting. And the other person is Jason Statham, who's known for doing lots of gangster movies in a London accent. The London accent doesn't really have much difference with vowels compared to regular English, regular British English. There's a slight difference, but you really shouldn't focus on the vowel sounds because they're kind of like, there's a small difference if you want to pronounce this. So I can give you some examples. For example, in regular English you'd say no. In Cockney English you'd say no. So it's like oh, ow, ow. It's like a slight difference, but it's not really that important. So what you want to focus on is the consonant sounds. That's where the big difference is. So the most important sound is probably what's called the glottal T. The glottal T basically means that you basically don't pronounce T's, or it's like the T is in your throat or something like this. I'll give you some examples. So in regular English you'd say water, little, things like this. In Cockney English this will be water, little. So we're basically not pronouncing the T at all. So it's not water, it's water, water. There's basically no T sound here at all. Same thing, little, little, ittle. You're not saying this. Title, title. So you do pronounce the first T in the word. It only happens when it's like in the middle or the end of the word. Generally, you can't say, for example, idle. No, you can't say this. So title, title, title. Alright, so if there's a T in the middle or the end of the word, often you don't pronounce it. So you might have heard it in the last examples, but also the L sound is different. If it's in the middle or the end of the word, again, often L will be pronounced as a W sound. So before I said little, and I said little, little. So it's not little, it's oh, little, little, little. So it's a W sound. Same thing with ill. I am ill right now. I'm ill right now. Ill, not ill, ill. So it's a W sound. So I'm ill. And again, the L at the start of the word is pronounced. So little, little. So you do pronounce the L at the start of the word. So if it's at the start, if it's at the end or the middle of the word, L is pronounced as a W sound. So next is the TH sound. I'm not sure if there are like some exceptions to this, but generally the TH sound will be changed to something else. There's only some words I can think of where it doesn't change, but most of the time it will change, and it depends on the sound. So if it's like a soft TH sound, like in thank you or think, often it's pronounced like an F sound. So thanks, thanks, thanks. So it's like an F sound. Also things like thing, things, I saw some things. I saw some things. So it's things, not things. Sometimes with the hard th sound, so the, that, brother. The th will often be a v sound. It doesn't really work with that because it's a kind of, I guess it's at the start of the word, so it's that. You say that. You say that, so it doesn't really change when it's at the start of the word. Generally, that's kind of how it works in a London accent. If it's at the start of the word, it doesn't change. So if it's a th in the middle of the word, like brother, mother, brava, mother, so it's a v sound here. Mother, mother, brother, brava. And that leads us to the what's called the schwa sound. What the hell is the schwa sound? That's basically the sound It's very common in British English because it's very lazy. Normally, if it's like er at the end of a word or an unstressed syllable, we'll often use this. Say, like the word I just used, brother. Normally in received pronunciation, it should be brother, brother. But in Cockney English, it's brava, so it's brava, like an sound. You also do at the start, so brava. So the sound is very, very common. For example, you could say, could you please pass the butter, please? Very posh accent. Could you please pass the butter, please? Butter. So it's not butter, butter. And lastly, we have the H sound, which is basically ignored entirely. Not sure why, but anything beginning with H, you don't pronounce the H. So, for example, hour, well, hour is not a good example. For example, who should be H, who. Cockney English, ooh. Ooh are ya? Ooh. Who's that? Ooh. Or there's house, ass, my ass. Not my house, it's my ass. Or half five. Off. Or five. But this is generally the rules, or how to understand and how to pronounce how the London accent works. I guess there's like 5 consonant rules you need to learn. Myself, I can just naturally do a Cockney accent just from being English and living with it. So I never really had to think about it. I had to kind of think and understand how to do it to explain it. So I have one last thing that I can't really ignore with the Cockney accent, and that is something called Cockney rhyming slang. Now, Cockney rhyming slang was basically a method of hiding what people were saying like hundreds of years ago. I think it's like 200 years ago. I'm not sure exactly how long it's lasted. Basically, some criminal groups, some gangs, wanted to hide what they were saying from the police. So they created their own language using rhymes. So what they did was they take 2 words, put them together, and they rhyme with the word you actually mean. So for example, you say stairs, apples and pears. So they'll say, I'm going up the apples and pears, meaning I'm going up the stairs. Or they say something like butcher's hook, look. So sometimes you'll hear in London, here, have a butcher's, which means have a look. Have a butcher's hook, have a look. It's not used as common, like as much anymore, because generally people understand what you're saying, because it's kind of become like well known what these mean. There are a few of these phrases that we use in everyday English. So we use, sometimes people say apples and pears. The most common one you'll hear is porky pie. Porky pie means lies, and it's generally spread across all of England. So sometimes if you want to be very informal and say you're telling lies in England, you'll say, are you telling porkies? Are you telling lies? Porky pie, lie. So, are you telling porkies? It means, are you lying? So generally you'll hear quite a lot of this if you hear someone speak with a Cockney accent. Often they'll use some form of Cockney rhyming slang, but it's not as common anymore. So the 4 that are probably the most common is apples and pears, stairs, butcher's hook, look, plates of meat, feet, and bread and honey, money. The others are kind of rare to hear, but these are some examples that you might hear. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed my guide, if you want to say that, of the London or the Cockney accent. I'll see you guys next time, and have a good one, mate.